In this video, we will talk about how to use Facet wrap and Facet grid with your ggplot charts. So let's get started. Let's get started by loading libraries ggplot2 and patchwork. I'm just going to check the version of the ggplot2 library just for your reference. So this is 3.5.2. So let's get started. Here is the first plot which I'm going to generate. So this is a plot of the MPG dataset. So x-axis would have the displacement and y would have the highway consumption. And it's a scatter plot. And I'm going to change this into a Facet wrap using the drive column or DRV column. You can see that it has created 3 plots. So that's a very simple Facet wrap. So let's make another one. And this time I'm going to use, instead of the drive, I'm going to use the cylinders column. So let's plot this also. You would see that it is plotted by the cylinder variable or the factor. So you can see 4 different plots. Let's try a third one. And this time I'm going to use the manufacturer. And this time you see a lot of plots. And for each manufacturer, it has created a scatter plot. Let's plot it side by side. And I'm using the patchwork library for that. So here we go. These are the 3 plots which we created. Just for the sake of easy comparison, I've just put them side by side. So you can see the first one is by the drive column, second one is by the cylinders column, and the third one is by the manufacturers column. So now I'm going to change the number of rows by using nrow command. And I'm saying nrow equals 2. So let's run this plot and we will end up with 2 rows in our chart. We can experiment it by changing to 3 or 4 as well. And instead of the number of rows, we can also change it to number of columns by using ncol. So I'm saying ncol equals 3. And that will give us a chart like this, so 3 columns. And now further, there's another command called scales. And I'm saying scales equal free. Let's see the result. You can see that on both the axes, on the x-axis as well as on the y-axis, the scales have been changed. So ggplot is free to change the scales in x direction or y direction based on your observations of the values which you have on the x as well as y-axis. You can of course control it more by saying free only on the x-axis. You would see only changes on the x-axis and all the y-axes are the same. And since we can do it for x, we can also do it for y. So we can say free underscore y, and this will change it only in one direction, which is the y direction. So the y direction, you can see every chart seems to have different scale. Using another command, you can control the labels which gets printed on the strips. So I'm saying labeler equals labeler, and in the bracket manufacturer. So you can see that the manufacturers of the cars are in small lower titles. So I'm changing it to string to title, and of course I'm using a library, and the library is stringer. So you have to install it if you haven't used that before. So let me also put this stringer in the front. So if I run it, you would see that I got a chart and all the names like Audi, Chevrolet, Dodge, etc. have been capitalized. You can also make it fully capital like string to upper, and it'll give you all caps. So Facet wrap allowed us to control it by one variable. Facet grid would allow us to control multiple factors of variables. So let's see the first chart. So I'm saying Facet grid, drive versus class. So it has shown the data or the output in a grid fashion. Drive on one axis, all the classes on the other side. And we can switch it. So instead of using drive first, I'm going to use class first and the drive. So let's plot both the charts, and I'm going to plot it side by side so you can appreciate the difference. So PL10 I made a mistake. I'm just going to fix. So there we go. The axis has switched over, or the grid has changed. So instead of drive on one axis, drive has gone to the other axis. So you can choose whatever looks good for your particular case. So now there is a slight variation in the command I've used. So I've set dot tilde drive. That has given everything, or all the drives or DRVs, in a column format. And in the second one, I'm going to put the drive in the front and the dot at the end. And we'll plot everything, and then we'll plot it side by side. You can see the front one, the first one, has given us the drives in the column, and in the second one, we have got the drives in the row. So let's see another variation of the labeler command. So I've created this PL13, which is just a normal chart, and I'm going to create a variation of the same chart again, and in this time I'm saying labeler equals label both, and you can see that it has given both the combinations. It has shown the drive as well as the class on the right hand side. So let's see it in a bigger screen, and you can see that now we have the class and then the drive, so we know what is what. So that makes it a bit more clear. There's another very handy command in Facet Grid, which is called the switch, and I'm saying switch equals both. So let's see and appreciate the results in a bigger screen and both the charts side by side. You would notice that the strips, instead of the top, they've gone to bottom, and instead of right, they have gone to the left hand side. So you can switch. We can also change the background of the strip, so strip.background, and I'm saying fill equals light blue or maybe green, and you'll see the difference. We can also control them individually using the strip.background.x and background.y. And if you like, you can also remove the background totally by saying background.x equals element blank. So I'm going to take help from the ggh4x library, which adds another option which we can use in our charts. So the first chart is just a normal Facet Grid chart, VS and the cylinders. And in the second one, I'm going to add the Facet underscore nested by VS plus cylinders. So let's see what it does. You can see now the output, there's another grouping at the top, 0 and 1. And I can change it by 3 columns. So you can see there's another grouping, then the final grouping. So let's plot all the charts together, and you can appreciate the difference. So if you want to group your data in whatever way, you can use a third variable or the fourth variable, and it will help you segregate the data and plot the charts accordingly. So last but not the least, I'm going to use the ggplot and ggtext packages to further customize the look and feel of our chart. So I'm using some more commands. The first one is the background underscore grid, which allows us or hides the grid. And I'm also going to use the theme and then changing the strip.text. See, I am using element text box, which allows us to give rounded text boxes like this. So I hope you found this information useful and practical. Thank you very much for watching it, and I'll see you in the next one.